So the way I would do it then is to select your object, go into edit mode and select all of the faces, so make sure you're in face mode, into X-ray mode with Z, and then deselect parts of the model that you don't want to be the liquid, and then come back out of X-ray mode. Finish making your selection, so where you want the drips and things on the geometry, and then duplicate it, so Shift D, and that duplicates it, and then separate it with P, and then separate the selection, back out of edit mode, select that object you just created, and then go into isolation mode so you can see what you're doing, and that will give you that. So what you need to do now is just make any additional amendments to the geometry that you want to, like for example I want to close these eyes off, so select those loops, fill those in, and then come out of edit mode, and we'll add a subsurface, a solidify modifier, and uncheck the fill rim option, and make sure this is a negative thickness because you want the liquid to come away from the underlying geometry. So make that negative like that. So not like that. You want it like that. And apply that, and then go into edit mode, and then deselect whatever you've got selected, into face mode, and press L to select the outer part of the model, and then select the border loop with select loops, boundary loop, and we'll save that boundary loop by going into the data tab on the right hand side and click in vertex group, and we'll add that as edges to keep, and make sure you click assign because clicking enter doesn't save it, so click assign and then select everything this time, and we'll select the boundary loop again, and because we've got everything selected it will select both the boundaries of both parts of the connected geometry, and then we're going to connect those together with a Control E and bridge edge loops. And then what we need to do now is go into edge mode, deselect everything, and we need to reselect the boundary that we saved earlier. So back into the data panel on the right hand side, click on edges, and then click on select. What we need to do now is bevel that, so Control B and then bevel, and now we need to select the middle edge loop. So into edge mode, Alt left click on that edge, and that will select all the way around, and then we need to press G twice and bring that up a little bit. So we want to actually scale these in the direction of each face. So the way to do that is scale along normal, which is Alt S, and then you can scale that outwards, and that will give the sort of the effect of a slight bulge around the edge where the liquid would build up. So to see that better, go into the modifier panel and add a subdivision surface. Give it however many iterations you require for your model, and then just press the on cage button at the end so you can see it in modify mode, and you can see that's giving it a bit of a build up around the edges. I can do more if I want to by pressing Alt S and then just change that until it looks right. So you might run into additional issues where you've got creases that you don't want. So for example, on a thick liquid you wouldn't have creases to match the underlying geometry. It would sort of smooth across it. So to get rid of that, the cause is you've got edge loops that are too close together. So because that's close to this edge loop, that's going to give you quite a sharp crease. So the easiest way is just to select it with Alt left click and then Control X, and that'll just get rid of it altogether. And then you can make additional amendments as you see fit. So I'm just connecting a few vertices here just to give it a bit of a better topology. So that's that. And if you want to make additional amendments to this, you can actually turn on proportional editing mode at the top and then choose a method. So I'm going to keep it as smooth, and all you do then is if you select an edge or a vertex, you can then move that around, and by using the mouse wheel you can change the distance to which the effect falls off. So just tweak it as you want. Okay, and then what you can do is come out of edit mode, apply the subsurface modifier, and then you can make additional amendments to this by going into Sculpt mode. So in Sculpt mode, tab, turn X-ray back off, into Sculpt mode, and then I would use the snake hook tool, which pulls geometry down in the direction of the mouse while you've got the left button held down. Also turn on Dino Topo. This will make sure that additional geometry is added to each stroke so that you're left with a nice smooth geometry still. If you turn on mirror in the symmetry, it'll do both sides equally. So I'll just turn that on, and then as I pull things down it will be mirrored across like that, or I can turn that back off and then just do it manually. And then if you change the size of your brush, that will affect the size of the drip if you've not used Sculpt mode before. Yeah, so that's fine. So back out of edit mode and add a smooth to it, and then you can add you can unhide the underlying geometry as well. And if you apply, so I've already applied a material to that one, so if you go into EV, there you go. So that's the underlying geometry, and I'll just give the liquid a material I made a minute ago, which is a subsurface scattering. It's a principal shader, but I've added some controls for the subsurface radius, and also used a color ramp and a Fresnel, or Fresnel rather, to control the roughness. And that's it. So hopefully that's helpful.